Tran Hao signed the last line of the lease agreement with a dying ballpoint pen. The ink faded, broken, printing a signature on the paper that looked like it was about to dissolve. It was just like his life, a faltering line about to break. The building manager, a gaunt man with sallow skin and black-rimmed fingernails, snatched the paper from his hand. He glanced at the signature, then at Tran Hao, his gaze cold. "Here's the key," the man said, tossing a set of old keys onto a desk stained with unidentifiable grime. "Apartment 1404, 14th floor, elevators at the end of the hall. Don't make noise." Tran Hao nodded, silent. He picked up his 2 heavy suitcases, an old backpack, and a laptop bag. This was his entire world. He had driven 16 hours non-stop from bustling Shanghai to Chongqing, the city of mountains and fog. A concrete maze that swallowed all hope. It was the perfect place to disappear. The hallway was dark and saturated with a strange odor. It was a mixture of stale cigarettes, damp concrete, and something sweet and acrid he couldn't name. It smelled like burnt joss paper. The elevator screeched reluctantly, pulling him upward. The fluorescent light flickered, making his tired, haggard face in the scratched stainless steel mirror look like a death mask. The elevator doors opened to the 14th floor, revealing an unnerving silence. The hallway was a long, dark chute, with only a single, dying bulb at the far end casting a sickly yellow light. Apartment 1404 was at the very end. Number 4 was the number of death. Tran Hao let out a dry laugh. He was a programmer. He believed in logic, in binary code, in things he could see and touch. Superstition was just junk data in his memory. The steel door was heavy. The lock was stiff, and he had to wrestle with the key for a moment before it turned. The door swung open, releasing a gust of stale, cold air that hit him in the face. The apartment was empty. Pale, beige walls with cracks spiderwebbing across them. A tattered sofa, a table, and a bed in the bedroom were all coated in a thin layer of dust. And that smell, the burnt joss paper, was stronger in here. He slammed the door shut, the sound echoing in the dead space. He dropped his bags, walked straight to the kitchen, and pulled a cheap bottle of Beiju from his backpack. He didn't need a glass. He drank straight from the neck, the hot liquor tearing a path down his throat. He looked out the window as twilight fell. Chongqing sprawled below, a sea of neon lights blurred by the thick fog. His building was in the Kuanya complex, a newly built development that already felt decades derelict. The identical towers rose up like giant tombstones. Tran Hao sat down hard on the sofa, letting the darkness swallow the room. He didn't turn on the lights, as he just wanted quiet. He hadn't slept in 3 days. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the headlights slicing through the night, heard the rain pelting the windshield and that dry, horrifying thud. He had run. He had erased every trace. No one knew he was here. He must have drifted off because he was jolted awake by a sound. The room was freezing. The bottle of liquor had rolled onto the floor. A single knock came from the door. Tran Hao held his breath, wondering who would be knocking at this hour. A second knock came. It was probably the manager. A third knock followed, a little more insistent. He stood up, annoyed, his limbs numb. He staggered to the door, his hand grabbing the heavy glass ashtray from the table. He was a fugitive, not prey. He pressed his eye to the peephole. The hallway was pitch black except for the faint, leering glow of the bulb at the far end. There was no one there. Then came the fourth knock. Tran Hao stumbled back. 4 knocks. A cold dread ran down his spine. He suddenly remembered a stupid saying his grandmother used to have. People knock 3, ghosts knock 4. He shook his head. It was ridiculous. It was probably just some kid. He growled through the steel door. "Who's there? Get lost." There was no answer, only the thick, heavy silence. And that smell of joss paper now seemed to be seeping under the door, growing stronger. He stood there for a long time, his heart hammering against his ribs. Finally, he turned, engaging the deadbolt. He wouldn't be sleeping on the sofa. He went into the bedroom, closing the door behind him. He threw himself onto the hard mattress. He was too tired to care. Ghost or human, it could wait until morning. The next day, Tran Hao tried to act as if everything was normal. He unpacked, gave the apartment a half-hearted cleaning, and set up his internet. He tried to ignore the inescapable smell of incense, which seemed to have seeped into the very plaster. He went out to buy food. The complex was even more terrifying in daylight. The empty corridors, the soulless faces in the elevator. He didn't see a single child. He worked, focusing on his identity as a good programmer. Code was his fortress. He wrote code until his fingers cramped. He tried to drown the memory of the night before, of the thud in the rain. That night, he drank more. He turned the TV on, loud. The noise of a variety show filled the room, but it couldn't drown out the silence beneath it. Exactly at midnight, the TV suddenly hissed, the screen dissolving into static. Tran Hao froze as a knock came. He killed the TV, and another knock came. The room fell silent. The third knock came, and this time it didn't sound like a knuckle. It sounded like something small, hard, and cold. He grabbed the fruit knife from the table and crept toward the door. He didn't dare look through the peephole as he didn't want to see. Then came the fourth knock. A long pause followed. His heart beat so hard he thought it would burst. And then he heard another sound. It wasn't a knock, it was a whisper. A thin, wet voice right at the crack of the door. It was a child's voice. It said one word, hurts. Tran Hao screamed. He scrambled backward, tripping over the table. The knife clattered away. He crawled back into the bedroom, slammed the door, and fumbled with the lock. He sat huddled on the floor, his back against the door, ear pressed to the wood, listening. No more sounds, only his own ragged breathing, and the smell of joss paper. It was suffocating now, as if someone had just burned a whole pile of it right in his living room. He didn't sleep. He sat there until the gray light of dawn crept through the curtains. On the third day, Tran Hao didn't go out. He had become a cornered animal. His logic had shattered. He barricaded the front door with a small bookshelf. He sealed the air vents with duct tape. He drew the curtains, plunging the apartment into artificial darkness. He called the manager. "There's something wrong with this apartment. The smell," he stammered, "and the noise." The manager's voice came back, bored and annoyed. "What noise? It's an old building. Pipes. The smell? Probably your neighbor's cooking. Don't bother me." "No, it's not the pipes," Tran Hao yelled. "It's knocking. 4 knocks. And a kid." The line was silent for a second. When the manager spoke again, his voice was ice. "There are no kids on the 14th floor. The apartment next to you has been empty for 6 months. Don't call me again." The line went dead. Tran Hao threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. He was isolated. He was alone. The fear was now being replaced by something else, a cold paranoia. He paced the room. The memory he had tried to bury was surfacing. The empty highway, the pouring rain. He'd been drinking. He'd been fighting with his girlfriend on the phone. He'd only looked away for a second. When he looked back, there was a small figure in a red raincoat. The thud. He hadn't stopped. He'd floored it. He'd run. And now, it had found him. Night 3 fell like a sentence. Tran Hao sat in the bedroom, clutching the last bottle of baijiu. He'd taken sleeping pills, but they weren't working. He just felt numb and sick. The smell of incense was horrific now. It made his eyes water. It tasted like ash in his mouth. He stared at the bedroom door. He knew it wouldn't knock on the main door anymore. An hour passed, then 2. Only the ticking of the clock provided a false quiet. Then it came. It was not a knock, but a scratch. A light scratch like a child's fingernail dragged down the wood of the bedroom door. Tran Hao whimpered. He stood up, his legs unsteady. "Please," he whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." The scratching stopped. A heavy, weighted pause followed. A knock came, right on the bedroom door. A second, louder knock. A third, and the door vibrated. The fourth knock was a blow so hard it splintered the paint on the door frame. The room fell silent. Tran Hao held his breath, tears and liquor streaming down his face. The child's voice came again, no longer in the living room. It was right outside the bedroom door, closer, colder. It didn't say, "hurts," anymore. It said, "Time's almost up." Tran Hao snapped. His terror gave way to the desperate rage of a man with nothing left to lose. He had run from Shanghai. He wouldn't run from this room. "Get out!" he roared, lunging for the door. "Leave me alone." He grabbed the doorknob, ready to tear it open and face whatever it was, but his hand went right through it. No resistance, no cold metal, nothing. His hand, pale and glowing faintly in the dark, had passed through the solid brass knob. He stood, frozen. The world went silent. He slowly pulled his hand back, staring at it. His hand was trembling, but not from fear. It was translucent. He could hear his own breathing, but it sounded distant, like it was coming from another room. The smell of joss paper suddenly vanished. The cold vanished. He turned, very slowly. He looked at the bed. Someone was lying on it. That person was wearing his clothes. That person had his face. That person wasn't breathing. Tran Hao stared at his own corpse, convulsed on the mattress, his face purple, a line of dried white foam on his lips. Beside him lay an empty bottle of sleeping pills and the drained bottle of Baiju. He hadn't survived the first night. The heart attack, the stroke from the booze and pills, the stress, the guilt. He had died the moment he arrived. For 3 days, he had been a ghost. He had been a ghost, terrified of another ghost. He looked down at his translucent hands. His logic returned, but in the cruelest way possible. He understood. The smell of joss paper was the offerings the manager was burning for him, the tenant who had died alone, undiscovered. The 4 knocks, people knock 3, ghosts knock 4, were a warning or an invitation. The child's voice saying, "Hurts," wasn't its voice. It was his voice. It was an echo of his own pain and regret. And the final whisper, "Time's almost up." Tran Hao looked at his body. He had been dead for 3 days, but his soul had only just realized it. "Time's almost up" wasn't a threat. It was a final grace period, a moment of clarity. It was time to understand the truth. And now, time was up. He heard a sound, not from the bedroom door. It came from the front door, the door to 1404. Someone was putting a key in the lock. He drifted. He wasn't walking anymore, through the bedroom door. He saw the front door swing open. A young couple. They were laughing. The wife was pregnant. "It smells a little," the wife said, wrinkling her nose, "but it's spacious." "The manager said the last tenant just moved out," the husband said, carrying a suitcase inside. "Probably just cooked some strong food." They couldn't see him. Tran Hao stood in the hallway, watching them enter his tomb. He tried to speak, to warn them, but no sound came out. He watched them shut the door. The heavy steel door slammed, locking them inside. Tran Hao was on the outside now, in the dark hallway of the 14th floor. He was alone. He turned back to the door. Apartment 1404. His home. He was cold. He was confused. He wanted to go inside. He slowly raised his translucent hand. He knocked. He knocked again. He wanted to go home. 4 times. From inside, he heard the husband's voice, thick with suspicion. "Did you hear that? Who's knocking at the door?" Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.